Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Crazy Leela and Odds Leela series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we're taking a look at some tactics from Leela's games at Rook Odds. And there's some quite nice ones in here, so let's get down to it. So this is the first game here. In this position, Black played the move Queen C7. And what's the idea of Queen C7? Well, you've got to protect the B7 pawn because the Queen and the pawn on A6 are attacking B7, and of course if Queen takes B7 happened, then that would be mate on the King on B8. But Leela had a very clever move here. What did Leela play here? Well, the solution is the rather gorgeous bishop to D8. And, well, as you can see from the arrows, somehow the combination of bishops and pawn on H6, handy pawn on H6 there, is really stopping Black from covering the B7 pawn. The Queen can't come to B6 or anything like that because the bishop's obviously protecting that. Queen can't come to D7, can't come to E7, can't come to G7. Black actually resigned here. If he played Queen F7, then simply bishop E6 would have chased the Queen away at the bishops and pawn covering all of Black's squares. And of course the idea is Queen takes D8, then Queen takes B7, checkmate. So very nice little idea. There haven't seen too many like this, quite like this somehow, with a bishop on the back rank. Quite unusual somehow, but bishop D8 winning. This is one of those typical scenarios where you sort of say, well, I can't lose this one, can I? And then you actually just end up doing that. So, I mean, Black's doing absolutely fine here, really. I mean, Queen and Bishop beautifully centralised, attacking the pawn on F2. Looks like the White Queen can barely move. Yeah, Black played the move G5. Wasn't particularly necessary, but yeah, it's as good as anything, really. And here Leela started getting a few checks. So check on H6, and King went to E5, and now Queen went to H8. And well, King D6 might have been quite sensible there, but Black played the move King to F4 rather. And here you need to work out what did Leela play. It's not too intricate, but it is quite unusual, this one, I have to say. So the first move that Leela played was the move Queen H2 check. And yeah, the King can't go back to E5. Actually, the King's only got one move. It's King takes F3. And then there's only two escape squares. There's E4 and G4. So how did Leela exploit this? Well, what Leela played was the move bishop D5 check. And the thing that surprised me was that after King G4, F3 check is made. It's quite surprising somehow, but obviously the Queen's covering F4, G3 and also the H-file, and the bishop now protecting the pawn on F3. And of course, if you go Queen takes D5, Leela's got the extremely unpleasant Queen G2 check. King F4, Queen D5, and yeah, another looked like a dead drawn position turned into a win by some rather nasty Leela tactics. Oh, I think I'll show you the whole game because it was pretty short. So this was one of Leela's sort of, you know, a slightly weird opening, and Black just copying, and then Leela just throws in a little G4 just to liven things up. Black is slightly incautious in accepting, so Leela just goes for it. I mean, it looks like some sort of normal Caracan, right? With just with a missing rook on A1 and a missing G pawn. Black played the move knight F6, and now was really very incautious with the move H6. And Leela just tossed in another piece, knight E6, and after F takes E6, played bishop D3. So the threat is bishop G6 check and mate. So Black dealt with it with King F7, and now Rook G1 was played. And again, we're sort of heading up on those light squares. Yeah, I mean, this is not a comfortable position for black. I mean, everywhere you look at, there seem to be some dangerous sacks. But black made things kind of worse with a move knight b6. So what did white play here? Well, white's very simple idea was to play the move knight e5 check. Obviously, king e8 allows bishop g6 checkmate. So king g8, and now the move bishop g6. And the threat is just to play bishop f7 check and queen d3. And, well, black doesn't actually have a defense to this. But he played the move rook h7, just trying to give his king a little bit of room. How did Leela finish off here? Not difficult, but just very nice. Bishop check, king h8, and knight g6 checkmate. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Rook and a piece down, and a pawn as well, and checkmate. All within 14 moves. Well done, Leela. Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where, Leela's got the rook back, but you're sort of thinking, well, maybe I'll still survive somehow. So there's a bit of pressure on the king's side. Black somewhat incautiously played e takes f5, which gives white a passed e pawn. But black was hoping to hold it with the move knight d5. So you're stopping e7, and if white tries to do anything with the queen, you'll have queen h2 check. So you've got some reasonable expectations that maybe you can hold this with black. But Leela had something rather horrible prepared. What was it? Yeah, the move bishop f4 is rather nasty. So attacking the queen on c7, obviously the queen can't take because it's pinned. But after knight takes f7, I just go e7, and e8 queen is happening. So there's no time for any counterplay against the king. The queen can't give a check on h2, blocked by the knight. And since e8 is happening, and the king on the queen will be pinned to the king on b7, you're not going to be able to do anything funny against the white king. So yeah, black's completely lost and resigned. Oh, this is an intricate one. So some sort of Caro-Kann, and Leela is hunting the king here. So queen c5 check is quite a nasty threat somehow. There are a few ways of dealing with it well, but it's nothing more than an equal position in principle. And obviously black's got to be very careful not to drop something. Loose rook on h8, for example. What black played was a very natural move. Played the move b6 to stop the king coming to c5. And now you've got a little bit of calculation here. You've got one relatively simple line and one somewhat more complicated line. So if you want, you can we'll look at the most simple line first, and then I might give you a bit of extra time to calculate the more complicated line if you want. So the way that you start is to play the move queen takes c6 check. And there's two moves. There's king takes b4, or there's king d3. King d3 is the easy one, so I'll just let you, just in case you haven't spotted it, I'll just give you a couple of seconds to find the solution. It's another one of these bishop skewers. So bishop f1, skewering the queen to the king, and after queen f1 we've sort of elongated that structure, and queen b5 check picks up the queen. Incredibly vicious and incredibly evil, I have to say. So that was actually how the game ended. But there's black did have a slightly better defense, and that was the move king takes b4. And yeah, this is quite complicated actually. This requires a little bit of calculation. But I don't know whether there's one move here that can be played that sort of brings the queen kind of closer to the king, and also introduces another threat which gives white some time to create some more threats. I don't know whether that description helps at all. Yeah, what white can play here is the move queen takes d5, and actually one of the big threats is to play the move queen takes d4, checking the king and also forking the rook on h8. So that's really, really good. And then if black plays the move rook f8, for example, just to get the rook safe, now we've got a force mate in about 4. So let's just see whether you can spot it or not. The big thing really is to bring pieces into play and start, somehow making black's pawns take some squares away from the king. So you go a3 check, king a4, and then bishop d7 check. This is quite unpleasant. There's only one move, and now maybe just give you an opportunity just to spot the mate in 3 here. So it's queen takes d4, and then king a5 actually is queen a7 mate. Always like those somehow, with the queen checking from behind and a pawn just stopping it, and a self block by a piece. Always appeals to me somehow. And if you go king to b3, that's the other move, then actually it's just very simple, nothing complicated, just queen c3 and queen b4, checkmate. Very nice game. I do love these tactics with the bishop f1s, really evil ones. Not easy to spot somehow, or I always take a while to spot them somehow, but always feel very proud when I do. And now we come to the final one in this video already. So this is the situation. So Leela's a rook down, but Leela's attacking. The engines don't think much of this. They think, there's plenty of stuff here that you can do. But obviously for a human player it's a little bit worrying. Black decided to cover the f7 square, which you can understand. Knight e6 check happened, and now black didn't want to play the move king e8 because knight takes g7, starts to get some material back for white, with still some initiative of course. So black played the move king g8, keeping that material. But what had black overlooked? Well, it's quite amazing actually. The move is rook g5, and we're just throwing rook takes g7, which is going to be checkmate. And well, basically more or less the only way you can defend against that is by winning the knight and opening up the protection of the queen and rook to the bishop. But in that case, this very unusual mate queen e8 check happens. The bishop is pinned, so it can't move to f8, and of course the king's blocked. So it's just a win. Very unusual position, this one. Again, sort of things you haven't really seen very often. Maybe in composed problems, but in real games, not very often somehow. So a very nice little tactic there with a lovely little checkmate. So there we are. Hope you're enjoying these. I've got another video's worth, I think, of rook odds games, and then we might move on to queen odds. Haha. But yeah, hope you're enjoying these. Very, very interesting tactics, and I think lots of unusual things that are well worth practicing and you might be able to use in your own games. So hope you're enjoying it, and hope to see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.